Staying true to yourself while creating, that's one of the hardest things you'll do. Every artist, entrepreneur, and creator faces the same tension. How do you honor your vision when bills need paying? When critics don't understand? What does it actually take to stay true to yourself in your creative work? What do you risk? And what do you gain by being yourself? I'm an actor, author, and entrepreneur, and my own journey has shown me that being authentic in your creativity requires courage. So settle in, these are honest conversations about what it means to create. Today's conversation is with Kail, a cinematographer, and we are going to discuss creativity and craft and what it means to serve someone else's vision while trying to stay true to your own. Welcome, Kail.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, yeah. Would you like to share your work or your sort of like how you got into what you do so that people can learn a little bit more about you?
Yeah, I actually started out as a graphic designer. So I went to Wake Tech for 2 years, and then from there I started freelancing as a graphic designer, working with agencies. And I remember actually, particularly like when I was actually in college, I was showing somebody at my church a video I was doing while I was in college. And it was like, oh, you shoot video? And I was like, in my mind, like, I guess I do now. So, and ever since then, I've just been doing it. And then from there, like, it's been a compilation of like doing and while learning and doing it by myself. But at some point in time, like, I've found community through it, and that's been like kind of the coolest thing for me. And as I've continued to grow, like, just seeing more and more how important community is in terms of, especially with filmmaking, because you can't do it by yourself, right? You know? And I don't like shooting by myself, so it's like, you know, kind of where we've been. But honestly, I think too, a large part of like my craft in that is like it also comes from being a designer, because I have such a different understanding, or not different, but just have an understanding of like how color works, and like some of my lighting also, like, you know, when it comes to like learning how to illustrate and like draw and stuff like that. So like learning light like that way, and like applying some of those things to like the filmmaking. Obviously, like I learned how to light through like the craft, and like, you know, learning about the different fixtures, the different diffusion rags, and like different lighting directions, textures, patterns, and like so many different things when it comes to lighting. But like also like look back to like some of my foundation as a designer to like help influence some of the things that I do too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when was that point where you were thinking that cinematography was the avenue that you wanted to go down? Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there was a point where like I saw a big gap in like where I was and where I wanted to be. And so like I felt like for me, like I feel like I can't call myself a cinematographer at the time. Like I just felt like my skill set didn't match that, right? And so I think from there I just kept working at it, learning color grading, learning how to get better at lighting, learning how to be more intentional with like what I do as a creative and how it impacts not just the image, but like the people that are viewing it, you know? And I think for me, like that was kind of like the leap towards being a cinematographer and being a DP, is like making connection through the screen rather than just like just showing up and like doing a thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So, so now you're sort of deep into cinematography and doing DP work, which is director of photography work, for those that don't know. When did you realize that cinematography meant serving someone else's vision and not necessarily your own?
Serving someone else's vision, not necessarily my own. I think it just comes down to like, honestly, the concept of walking alongside somebody. And so like, yeah, there are people that have experiences or like I have a story that they want to share and tell. And I realized for me, like I am a storyteller, and also like I have my own experiences. And so for me, it's started to become more of a partnership than it has been more so like, or collaboration, if you will, but also with the standpoint, like this is also like the director's vision. So it's like, I do all that I can to like more so just get into their head and understand like what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. And then from there, just like seeing what I can do to add to the story and like add to the vision and like really enhance and like really bridge the gap between like the story and like what's the word I'm looking for, or phrase, like just basically just bridging the gap so like the audience can also feel what we're setting out to go do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Have you ever fundamentally disagreed with the director on a specific vision on a project?
Oh, 100%. And I think that's kind of like the beauty of it. I think there are directors that like, it just also depends on like who you work with. Like a lot of people have different perspectives and working styles and how they enjoy working. And so like there are some directors where like they have visions where like they really like are like set on, and so like you're just there to like help them accomplish that. But then there are directors that like I've worked with where like they want you to like be opinionated and like not agree with them and like argue back, right?
Really?
Yeah, like they're like I've one of my favorite stories and one of my favorite directors I love working with, his name is Peter. I love Peter. And I remember there was a time where it was a color decision. And so like there was, in my pre-production deck, I like laid out the color palettes and what I wanted for the room, because the room leaned a lot of like warm colors, a lot of red, browns, and like, you know, there was some green in there. And then lighting wise, it was a scene where it was like she was sitting by a fireplace. So like you already got warm lighting coming into the room, and you have blue shooting from outside for like moonlight kind of a look. And so like there was an option between a red chair and a white chair. And I walked away, and I came back and there was a red chair in there. I was like, this does not look good.
Right.
I don't think this is gonna work. And so we kind of just had a moment where it was like, hey, just like, trust me, like I think a white chair would be perfect here. And like he was kind of against it a little bit, and then we put it in and it's like, okay, this looks better. And then we just went with it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I say that to say that like one of the things I've learned in the last 2 years, which has been new for me as not just as a DP and not just as a creative, but as a person, is what it truly means to blindly trust somebody and like have faith in like what they're doing. Because there are times where like you will be on the same page, but then there are moments where like you won't understand what they're doing, what they're coming from, where they're coming from. And so you kind of have to take a step back and say, okay, I'm giving you the reins, and wherever you decide to go, I will follow. But what that means is that like as a DP, like I also have to be very cognizant of the decisions I make, because like I'm also leading other people for lighting, like where I want the camera to be and like all this kind of stuff. So it's like now you're getting to a place where I'm asking other people to trust me blindly when I don't know what's coming next.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a hierarchy. Well, sort of hierarchy, where you have someone at the top telling the next person. You're kind of right there sandwiched in the middle. Do you ever find yourself where you're not in a collaborative environment, where you're just seen as the DP or just seen as the cameraman?
Yeah, I have, and it just depends on the job and what people ask of you. So yeah.
How does it make you feel if they just see you as like a non-collaborator? Yeah.
I don't know. That's such an interesting question, because I feel like as I've grown, I've kind of not let it bother me, if you will. I think there's been like, I know how I enjoy creating and the way I enjoy creating, but then there are some projects that don't necessarily require like my full, like fledged, like I don't know how to put it. But it's just like, it just all depends. So like, I usually just like, I look at it as like, what are the cards being dealt? And so like, if that's what you require of me and that's like the cards you give me, then I'm just going to play my hand in that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a question. So most of the time when people watch a movie or they see something visual, they typically remember the actors and they remember the directors, but they don't usually remember the DP or the cameraman or even the writers in some cases. How do you reconcile with that? How do you like not let that affect you when really you have so much to do with the visuals?
That's such a good question. I don't know. It just comes down to like the idea. I feel like something I'm working on is the idea of like, yes, like we are creating stuff to be like absorbed by people, but being less involved in terms of like having like just putting it out there. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I don't know.
So do you see it kind of as like work? Like I just show up for the project, I do what I have to do, and then I leave, or do you feel like a part of you is is a piece of that, and you're like, no one knows that I did that, you know, until the credits, of course.
Yeah, no. Actually, thank you for clarifying that, because I feel like that's such a good clarification, because I feel like, again, it just depends on the project. Like there are projects where, like, for instance, like narrative and commercial, I love shooting commercials and I love shooting narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel like that when it comes to the work, you have to put a part of you into the project, and a part of the project comes home with you, which is why I don't always take everything.
Yeah.
Some stuff I don't want to take home.
Yeah.
But with that said, I mean, you put your whole heart into something, and it's like, that's kind of like your child of you will, like, it's a part of you. And so I guess to have some sort of recognition from that would be amazing, but like I don't think it's something that necessarily bothers me, for sure. Yeah. So.
No, I'm always so curious, because obviously I'm usually in front of the camera, and I work with you guys, and I've worked on several sets with you, and we collaborate really well.
Everything would be different though if like the director didn't say anything about the DP though. Like, I don't know. It's like it is everything is a partnership. I mean, even down to like it's the same question. Is not just like the DP, but like the crew, like the gaffer, like the first AC, like, because everybody has such a hand in the project. So I feel like everybody deserves some sense of recognition, even down to like my idea of collaborating. Because like for me as a creative, like I try to create space for other people and allow them to have an opportunity to like have some sense of like agency in what we're doing. So like even down to like I think about like my gaffer and like just all like the heads of like the production as like I see them as like as wise men, right? So like why not like go to them, because they're there for a reason, they're talented in what they do. So like if someone tells me, hey, like we should probably do this, I'm taking that into consideration. I'm just like, like I'm the one that is like making like the path forward, but like really just leaning on to them when I need it.
So there's a huge
being wise in that.
Sure. So there's a huge like trust aspect in this. So everyone comes together and we all trust the process, and I feel that way as the talent usually coming onto set and working with everybody. I trust that the vision is going to be executed the way it needs to be. I feel like you have such a huge hand in that, that most people don't even know, most people literally when they're watching TV or commercials, they just see the visuals and then they see the face and, the sound, and maybe the score is amazing. And then they're like, wow, I mean, look up the score person, but it's rare that we have, recognition, public recognition, obviously we have award shows and stuff like that, but it's rare that we have the regular layman public that are like, wow, that DP did so well,
I mean, to be fair too, I feel like if you're kind of outside the industry, like even the term DP, like a lot of people, like whenever I'm talking to people in public, or even my family, like they'd be like, yeah, so like, do you still take photos? I'm like, bro.
So that's so interesting. How does that make you feel when they almost like kind of diminish the actual?
Well, just I mean, again, like I just feel like I just kind of learned over time to understand like the perspective. So like I feel like as a DP, being a DP, I feel like is such a respected, highly regarded, respected role. But like when it comes to like the public and like them knowing the difference between a videographer, a camera operator, a cinematographer, and a DP is like, I don't expect them to like understand like the differences between all those roles.
Right.
And so like, I feel like for me, there's just a level of grace, and like, I'm not so like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe he's calling me a videographer. But like, like on set, like if you call me a videographer, I'm like, bro, like,
right? You're like, this isn't the
like,
90s. It's not a birthday party.
Like come on now, like,
right.
But but I usually don't get caught up on stuff like that,
just because it's outside of the industry. People don't know. Right.
I'm always explaining to people what a gaffer is, or like what a colorist is. So it's like.
Yeah, there are different facets. And so, so I guess I introduced you as a cinematographer, but you also are director of photography and all of those things. Like you kind of have to learn all of that to really be in the place that you are.
I mean, even down to answer your question, I mean, I think as a previous question is like, sometimes like you get a job and like they just want you to execute the vision as is, versus like, that you have such a hand in the overall creative, so it just depends on the job and the project.
Do you ever feel that you have to sort of sacrifice your own authenticity in the work that you do? Like, obviously we have to, what we discussed earlier, you have to sort of follow you have to trust the process and follow the director's vision. And there's that whole entire component to it. But do you ever feel like this isn't authentically true to me, or does that question or
no, I
ever
don't
come
think,
up?
honestly, I think that I don't necessarily think it's like not authentic to me. More so it's like, is it authentic to like the story that we're telling?
Okay, so your authenticity is more oriented around the storytelling process.
I mean, I think I'm in a place where like creatively, like I have my own taste. I have things that I would love to see and I enjoy, but also like I'm very cognizant of like what is the story that we're telling and like where we are with it. And so like I'm more apt to like forego like my own taste for the sake of the project and lean more into like what the project needs rather than like what I want it to be. Obviously, like there's still me in there,
sure,
but I try to be wise and like, okay, like obviously I love like very contrasty images, but like this scene is not depressing or like calls for this, or the story doesn't call for that,
okay,
maybe it calls for a level of softness that it needs because the character is like that's what they are in the inside, but the world around them is like harsh, so it's like it just depends creatively. So
just sort of following the storytelling process and adapting based off of that. Do you have a specific like sort of visual preference? Like you just mentioned, like there's softness versus the grittiness. Is there like a certain sort of, and I might be getting the wording right or wording wrong, but like, is there a certain sort of visual that you prefer over others?
I mean, I love dark and moody stuff, but I think as I've grown in life experiences and things that like I've experienced in myself, like the world, like our lives is not catered to like just one emotion.
Sure.
Just one feeling.
Yeah.
And so like, I think as I've grown in my craft is telling more like those different sides of the story or like those different sides of the spectrum. So like really lean into that. I kind of feel like creatively, like I feel like I have different tastes within different genres.
Okay, I'm curious. So can you elaborate a little?
Yeah. So like for high-key commercials, like I have different tastes of like how like it looks, or like just different commercials in general. Like I have a different taste of like what I want it to look like and feel like versus narrative, or like maybe a documentary, or like maybe like a corporate job or a brand shoot. Like I kind of like live in like those different kind of worlds and like create tastes around that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Which is your favorite? Like, do you like doing corporate stuff, or do you prefer?
I prefer narrative and commercial. Like I love commercials so much. Like like YouTube, like they'll like have the ads and like you can skip it. Like I watch all of them.
Really?
Yeah,
you get like inspiration.
Watch them. I study them.
I skip them. I'm like, I get to what I want to watch.
Yeah, like Allstate commercials or whatever commercial is. Like I'll watch it and then like I'll like after finish watching, like I'll go look for it immediately so I get to save it.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's like inspiration.
Well, Allstate commercials are pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Because they're like kind of almost like mini narratives in the commercial.
Yeah. And some of my favorite, like I've loved like some of the more like the Amazon commercials that I've been getting recently and BetterHelp. I've been like really like enjoying the BetterHelp commercials. They've been doing some really cool stuff in very short form, like commercials are like 2 shots. Yeah.
So actually that's a great point, because I wanted to ask you about what you think about the verticals, because now verticals are becoming a huge thing in the industry, and they're even, I think, creating awards for verticals now or something like that. So how are you, do you, first of all, first part of the question is, do you like that sort of aspect? How are you adjusting to that? And what are your thoughts on it?
Honestly, like my first experience has been very frustrating. Because it feels very limiting, especially from a story perspective, because you can't lens it the same. I think, and I haven't shot a whole bunch. I've worked on projects where like you shoot for both aspect ratios, like you shoot for vertical and horizontal.
Okay.
But I had one job specifically where we shot for vertical, and I just felt so limited. And it really made me think about how to problem solve that. And so like, I really haven't really leaned or tried it yet, but I feel like shooting more large format makes more sense, because you can like, you can lens it a little bit more the way you want it to and still get like bokeh and like depth of field and all that kind of stuff, versus like you kind of have to shoot like wide just to get it everything you want into a frame, or like even you shoot tight, like you have to be further away because like the distance of like how close the camera is to the person, like it communicates.
Sure. Yeah, but especially because you just mentioned like feeling limited, because obviously the whole point of visual storytelling is to have, you've got the talent and then you've got the whole background to really encompass the entirety of the story. But with the verticals, you're super limited with that.
Yeah.
So how do we tell these stories in a limited frame where it's still engaging and like it still captures the essence of what it is that we're trying to tell. So there is a challenging aspect to that. In addition to verticals, we have the sort of, what is the word for it? Explosion of AI.
Yeah.
And so how are you guys, or how are you as a DP and a cinematographer, how are you integrating AI into your work these days? Because it's everywhere, and that's kind of the direction that everything is going.
Yeah. I will start off saying like AI was something definitely unknown to me. Like even ChatGPT was like unknown for me. Like it was one of those things like I don't understand it, so I'm not going to touch it.
Right.
And so there are things that in my personal life that I've been working on, like trying to get better at and learn at. And so like when I started to get into that, it really became a tool of like helping me understand things, especially like it accelerated, like it became so instant. Like I needed to know something, like trying to get better at like baking and like cooking, and like I've been practicing like making my own sauces and stuff.
Nice.
So I was like, why is this creating texture? Like the texture is creating. So like be able to like pull up ChatGPT and like it gives me the answer immediately has been very helpful in problem solving. So now I know for next time. So I feel like it's becoming more of a problem solving tool for me, and to help me organize a little bit more of like my processes. How do I use ChatGPT? I feel like for me, like I do a lot of like study cases, like how I prepare for like projects and stuff. Like I do a lot of research on like lenses and cameras, and like does this lens work with this camera body and just all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of helps me in like a little bit in that aspect too.
What about like the visual aspect of AI? Because now, what'd you say?
Oh, good.
Yeah, the visual aspect of AI. So now, like I was having a conversation a little bit ago, and we were discussing how like you can now program certain visuals. So you can have background extras be AI, like it's it's developing into that, where even actors are getting nervous about their position because they're like, well, hold on, like if they can just have an AI actor, and an AI voice take over, then what am I here for? So are you seeing any of that?
Actually, I have not experienced that at all. I have seen people use like AI to help generate images to what they were trying to creatively explain to others, to help their project get like picked up or like pushed forward. But I haven't, in a sense, like seen that like it's actually replacing people. Like, that's actually like new for me.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. I've seen like little short mini films, and it's all AI generated. And so the background, the actors, everything is AI generated. So it's almost like, I wouldn't say it's replacing real people. I don't believe that. I don't even believe that's going to be the case at all, just because there's something that our eyes we can tell, like it's like there's something about the real world versus the digital world that our eyes naturally pick up on, and it's like it tells ourself like that's not, something's off about that. No matter how real it gets, there's something in us that I think is going to say there's something off about that. But so with that in mind, though, do you think that there's value in AI generated content like that, or do you think that we do need to go back to the sort of authentic and true way of storytelling, which is real people in real spaces telling real stories?
I don't think I know how to really truly speak to the idea that like people using AI more in like the terms of like the process of filmmaking, but I feel like thinking about how I am and how I love to be intentional, and I feel like there may be people in our industry that also like they are so into the detail of things that like it would be hard for like them to want to use AI. So like that, be able to like tell like an actor to specifically do this, and to emote this way, and to like really be in the nitty gritty of things versus like AI. I don't know, because like, I feel like I've also experienced like the kind of new age of technology nowadays. Like we're working with LED volume screens, and like to not having to do green screen, and to have like your full background behind you, and you can just pop it in and just like shoot, and like you don't even have to move your actors, you just move your screen.
Right. I remember because you and I had worked on that. What was it? That motorcycle?
Yeah,
one?
It's like a motorcycle inspired.
And it was so cool because the whole background was the LED screen. It was beautiful, and the motorcycle was there, and I was on the motorcycle, and you know, with the camera, and we're adjusting, and it came out so beautiful. You know, you couldn't even tell that we were like in a soundstage doing all of this. So it was really cool. So so I mean, incorporating the technology is super important, you know, because we can't tell stories without technology, obviously, because technology is cameras and lighting and everything. I mean, do you feel that any element of authenticity is going to be left behind, like as we move more into the future?
You know, I'm not sure, because I feel like when people talk about AI, in a sense of like, especially like to take somebody else's creative mind and like try to replicate that in like the AI technology, like it sounds a little disheartening for me, because it's like you're trying to you're creating an imitation of something,
right?
You know, and it's just like, that doesn't sit right with me. You know?
I love that you just said that, and that's kind of what is going on. It's like imitations of reality, and of course, like, you know, as filmmakers, what we're trying to do is capture reality and make it as real as possible. So there's not so much an imitation; it's more like a representation, you know. But you're right. I mean, with AI and all these other sort of generative, you know, things that are coming about, it is imitating. It's imitating the DP's vision, the director's vision, the writer's vision, the acting. It's all an imitation. So we are losing that authenticity. So that's like a really good point. I'm glad you said that. So now, I mean, is there any element of your own life experiences that comes into your work, or is that something that you have to leave out when it comes to telling other people's stories?
Not necessarily, because I think when I think about certain, like when I'm reading a script, and I will, like, so for instance, if I'm reading a script and it's, you know, your grandparents talking at a table, right? I'm immediately thinking about my own experience and sitting at a table with my grandparents and what that was like. And so like when I'm reading the dialogue, it's like, oh, like I remember what this felt like, or like, doesn't make sense. Like, why would they speak like this? You know?
Yeah.
Or like, just bringing that experience into like the what I do, you know. I think most recently I picked up taking stills more recently. So like whenever I travel and I go abroad, like I always keep my stills camera on me, and it's been an inspiring thing. It's taught me so much.
Wow. So how do you incorporate the stills in the actual?
It really taught me more so about like getting rid of the idea of like having to be perfect all the time. And it's put me in places where like filmmaking has put me in places that like I wouldn't say, it's put me in places that I wouldn't expect to be.
Yeah.
You know, like I've met so many people through this. Like I've been able to go like to Spain and like Iceland, like as a filmmaker, and it's like, that's really cool. And so I think picking up stills has been a reminder for me, because when I go to like these places like Iceland, Spain, or like when I'm traveling around downtown, like I'll just meet people and like I'll just see somebody and I was like, hey, can I take a portrait? And I would just like talk to them for like 2 minutes. Get a little bit, know who they are, get a little comfortable with them. And I only give myself one photo. And I take their photo, and if it's, because I shoot on manual lenses, so like if it's sharp or if it's like blurry, like that's it.
Wow.
That's the photo.
It's such a nod to like the disposable camera days, you know, where it's like, the cameras or the photos that you took, you didn't know how they came out until you developed them, you know?
And the cool thing about it too is that like, I don't ask them for their contact info. I don't ask them for their social media.
Wow.
Like my only memory and experience, like what we had in that moment was like a memory for both of us.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's amazing. I love that too, because you're not so, it's so far removed from the Instagram era that we're living in right now, where people take multiple photos and they upload carousels and they're documenting every aspect of their life, but that's not real. You know, it's like, those one little moments, the ones that you're able to capture, are what's real, you know? And it's so interesting because, yeah, you're not going to go back and take another one because maybe their eyes were closed or something like that, because that's just the moment. That was the moment.
Them too. Like if they're stiff or like they're like, or like they're goofy or like they're just being themselves, like that's it. And like I was actually in Pennsylvania working, and I was driving the car with like the rest of the crew, and like I saw this woman walking on the back roads with like her horse. I said, I'm sorry guys, I gotta stop the car. So we stopped the car in the middle of the road, got out, and I asked her for a photo and took her photo, talked to her for a couple seconds, and got back in the car and drove away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. She's like, who's this guy with this camera?
And
I bet it was really cool.
It was so cool. And like the homes were like very like, because isn't that like Amish kind of country? So like the homes look very new, wide fields, and it's like it's like such a cool like moment.
Wow. So how are you incorporating those
into like my craft?
Into your craft?
I think it's really helped me to just be more present and just be more open to like just like like there are things that I normally wouldn't lean towards. Like there's a photo I took. I went to Nags Head, North Carolina, where they have like the dunes, and I captured a photo there, and the photo is like completely red, and so like red is not a color I usually lean towards. But because of the capabilities of this camera and like what I'm able to do with it, is really been inspiring me to like want to not just like take more photos like that, but like to lean into that more, like my craft and cinematography, and to like go more, be more expressive with colors I normally wouldn't lean towards.
Wow.
You know?
Interesting. So your I wouldn't say method, your visual preference is changing based off of like your sort of in the moment experiences. That's really neat. Wow.
It's been really inspiring.
That's cool. I mean, are there any other things that you do to inspire your work? I mean, obviously the still photography.
Everything. I feel like everything, like I am inspired by emotions. I'm inspired by experiences with people, conversations, finding inspiration in painting, because I have a background in like art. You know? And so like, I've learned to find inspiration in so many different things and in other people's work, and how they see the world, and like learning how other people problem solve has been like also inspiring. So it's like, and also learning how to allow myself to be inspired, I think has been like the challenge. Because I remember like coming up, even as a designer, I felt like I couldn't reference anybody else's work. Like everything had to be originally from me. And that made like creating like a lot harder. Obviously, like through my experiences and learning my craft, you develop your own taste and what you love. So that'd be like a jumping point for yourself. But like learning how to be inspired by other people's work and then like go out and create your own.
So was that a choice that you chose to create from just yourself, or was that like
I mean, I just like, well, it wasn't necessarily circumstances. It was just more like I was learning how to be a creative.
Okay, and you just decided to come from your own self rather than
I just felt like I had no right to like take somebody else's reference. And
interesting,
like, so it was an interesting, like it just made creating so much harder.
Because I mean, really,
I had no vocabulary. I had no sentences to form. I had no exclamation, no period. So like, not having that just made it extremely hard, because like you were learning how to speak
through the visuals. That's so interesting too, because you know, creatives in general, like, yes, of course we all have this sort of creative spark in ourselves. Like that's, in my opinion, why we're here, to sort of express our own individual, unique, creative expression. But when we're here, it's like we glean all of that information off of the world around us, including the people around us. So trying to come from just ourselves can be challenging, because it's like, well, your entire experience is a reference in some sense, you know, like you're referring back to your childhood, or you're referring back to that, you know, birthday cake that you ate, or you're referring back to that trip to the beach. And so or that conversation you had with someone, or that piece of art that you saw at that museum, you know, so when do you think that shift came, when you realize, like, oh wait, I do need to kind of refer to other people as an inspiration, not a copycat, obviously, but as inspiration, and kind of see like, oh, they went that direction. I can see elements of that I resonate with, but I want to go this direction. Like, when was that change for you?
I think it just came with time, and like seeing other people's work and just truly being inspired. Like, man, like there are people's work that I can even think about today where like I saw it as like, man, like I wish I can create stuff like that. And like, and not even just like the cinematography, but like the story that they created. And I was like, yo, like I aspire to like be like this. So
you mean like the writing and like the full development of a story?
Yeah, like the full, like it was like, for instance, there's a DP named Anthony Reed. He's a DP. Very talented, and the company that he owns is called Distant Moon. Shout out to them. They don't really know me like that, but you know, definitely inspired me. But yeah, I remember there was a music video he shot for a band, which also is like, they have one of my favorite songs. It's called Mud Tires by Virginia Men, and they shot a music video for them, and like I just loved it, and like that was like inspiring for me. So like, I think for me, like that was kind of the start of like wanting to learn how to shoot more moody stuff, and more contrast, and like more like, I'm really into deep emotion. Like even down to like, part of my story is that like I grew up in a house all girls.
Okay. I know how that would
be. And so like I always felt like an outlier, but also like I just felt like part of me just felt a little bit misunderstood, because I was by myself a lot.
Sure.
And so like, I think watching TV and watching movies and watching actors like portray emotion, portray what they're going through, like I always felt seen, I always felt heard, and I always felt connected. And so like, that's always what drew me to the screen and the TV. Like when your favorite character is about to die, and like you're like on the edge of your seat, like, yo, please live. Yeah. And so like, for me, it's like, it just kind of contribute to like being inspired and like leaning into like all things filmmaking and like cinematography, and being a storyteller, and like connecting with people, sitting down, having conversations with people, and like it's been quite the journey.
Amazing. Do you feel like you've reached that point where you're comfortable in your work, and and I mean, of course, we all have room to grow. I'm sure you think that as well. But do you feel like you've gotten to that point where you're like, okay, I'm settled in, I've sunk into who I am and what I want to express, and like, have you reached that point where, or is there still much further for you to go?
100%, a lot more further for me to go. I mean, I think we have so much more life ahead of us, and so many more experiences. Like even to the things I experienced as in my career has contributed to how I create. And so I just only think about like how much more as I get older, and being around more people who have other experiences where they can speak into like the work that we're doing together, because filmmaking is a collaborative effort. So like, to have so many people who have different life experiences come together to like create something, like it just adds so much to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was so fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Where can people find your work? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is KailMD, KailMD. And then I have a stills account that is called Kellius, but if you go to KailMD, you'll find Kellius.
Awesome. Do you have a website or anything like that?
Yeah, so current website is Kail Visuals LLC, but we are working on making that change. So.
Awesome. Well, so good. Well, again, thank you so much. This was really, I loved this conversation. It was so enlightening, and yeah, it was really great. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.